With that, we're going to move into our next round of presenters. This is going to be an incredible panel. We've got several members of the California Local School Wellness Collaborative that will join us on stage. The collaborative brings together state leaders who are really committed to improving student wellness and academic success. They've been inspiring communities to strengthen wellness policies and really put things from paper to practice. Joining me up on stage will be Crystal Young. She co-chairs the California Local School Wellness Collaborative. She's also a nutrition education consultant for the California Department of Education, Nutrition Services Division. She is an incredible person. We love having Crystal here. She's going to introduce the panel, and they're going to share a little bit more about bringing together our school communities with local school wellness policy. Come on up, Crystal.
Thank you. Nice to see the audience. Thank you so much for letting us come after that. I've got butterflies. Again, my name is Crystal Young. I'm a nutrition education consultant for the California Department of Education Nutrition Services Division, and also the co-chair of the California Local School Wellness Policy Collaborative. My better half, Bailey Suarez, Community Program Manager for the Dairy Council of California, could not be with us today, unfortunately, but you will probably cross paths with her at some point soon again. And we are really grateful to have this opportunity today to celebrate with you 10 years of wellness. Our presentation today is the Winning at Wellness, Empowering School Communities Together. And I can't say enough about how this has been a consistent message already in our our Wellness Week of Wellness. And I hope you are inspired by what you continue to hear today. I think you can sense, if you were with us yesterday, the sense of empowerment and collaboration that is in the room. And I just really want you all to take advantage of that. Our objectives, our formal objectives, is that we really want to recognize the state leaders and organizations that have come together and have committed to improving student wellness and academic success. We want you to walk away understanding the USDA's requirements for the local school wellness policy and including this. Oh, is there a clicker? I'm sorry. I should be helping with that, but you got it? I'm like,
I thought you were doing it from your seat.
It's okay. I just realized I'm supposed to be clicking. All right, that frees me up a little bit. Thank you. So you'll learn the requirements for the local school wellness policy, and including the specific goals for nutrition education, physical activity, nutrition promotion, and other school-based activities that promote student wellness. We also hope that you would be able to identify how the collaborative can help you with the success of school wellness policies and initiatives, and you'll be able to locate some of our resources and supports for building effective local school wellness policies and implementing strategies to support student safety, well-being, and academic achievement. So here we are. This is really a partnership of wellness leaders that provide evidence-based resources to empower schools and communities to implement the local school wellness policies and practices to support the whole child. So our vision is that we would inspire school communities to take their wellness policies from paper to practice. Our cause is really to empower school communities and partners to strengthen the local school wellness policies and the systems in California to support students' whole child health and academic achievement. So I'm going to go down memory lane with you. The local school wellness policy timeline, and if you're new, you know, this actually started quite some time ago. So we are approaching 20 years of local school wellness policy implementation. It started with the Child Nutrition and Women and Infants and Children's, or WIC Reauthorization Act of 2004, which mandated that all local educational agencies participating in the federal meal reimbursement programs established a local school wellness policy. Then on December 13th, 2010, President Obama signed the Healthy Hunger-Free Kids Act of 2010, reauthorizing the child nutrition programs. And that brought me on board and funded my position at NSD. So thank you, Obama, for that. And what then resulted from there is that the Richard B. Russell National School Lunch Act would then provide the local school wellness policy implementation and really break down what that looked like at a practical level for our LEAs. So in 2014, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Food and Nutrition Services released its proposed rule for local school wellness policy regulations, and there was a really, really long comment period, and we were all on pins and needles. And then finally, in 2016, we received the final rule. So the Local School Wellness Policy Final Rule of 2016 provided LEAs a framework for developing, implementing, and evaluating local school wellness policies, including goals and standards for content of the local school wellness policy, establishing wellness policy leadership, providing opportunities for public involvement in the wellness policy process, and then adding a triennial assessment of wellness policy compliance, implementation, and progress. And I want you to understand that that was a shift or an addition because although the goals and standards were there with 2004, there was identified a need for better accountability and transparency between the community and the local agencies that serve them. And so that's where the shift really came in. And with that, when you break down the minimum requirements, right, of the local school wellness policy implementation, there is really a strong undertone encouraging LEAs to take a whole child approach to health and wellness of their students and the communities that support them. You see that they had measurable goals for nutrition promotion and education, physical activity, and other school-based activities that promote wellness that are embedded there in the WISC model. The nutrition guidelines for all foods and beverages sold or made available on school campus during the school day acknowledge that it wasn't just about the school's meal program, but the environment surrounding the students. And then, of course, you have the policies for food and beverage marketing and community involvement. And again, I would say that that community involvement piece was really the shift with the 2016 because they wanted the community to inform the policies that were affecting them. So it also directly stated that this local school wellness policy was going to be placed at the local level. It was an LEA responsibility so that the unique needs of each school under the LEA's jurisdiction could be addressed. So we couldn't necessarily dictate what your local school wellness policy looked like, but we could come alongside and help you with creating that local school wellness policy and meeting the requirements, as well as provide best practices and demonstrating what engaging their community looked like, what creating healthy environments looked like, what comprehensive policy language looked like, and of course, promoting student health and wellness. And thus, the collaborative was born. So, and that was about 2012. So now today, our collaborative, we've taken a domain approach where we've identified these 4 core areas of our work. And I'm sharing this with you because I know that we all have different ways of forming wellness councils and committees, and maybe this is something that you can kind of shape your work with or just better understand how we do ours. But our idea was to have these 4 domains, and across these 4 domains that we would focus on the whole child model and creating awareness of that WISC framework to provide opportunities for having a comprehensive approach to local school wellness policies. We wanted to support districts in meeting the USDA requirements as well as exceeding them through building capacity and providing technical assistance and resource development. So we developed the local school wellness policy implementation and evaluation domain. And that's really the origination or the core of what we do. And then we added the promote and protect access to nutrition and food security. And you'll hear a lot of that happening in these last years with universal school meals, EBT, and community eligibility provision. All these things, efforts are designed to ensure that our students have access to the nutrition that they need. Also, we have a domain specifically designed to amplify core messages to support our school wellness committees through communications and outreach. And our collaborative members and community partners work together to make sure that you can get resources from us that reflect some of the best practices and supports out there. And that is our communications and outreach domain. So within that, we have decided that our work, our strategies, if you will, is to make sure that we are looking at providing evidence-based resources. We meet monthly. We have trainings and we participate in trainings and conferences like this one. We offer Winning at Wellness webinars and record them so that they're available on our website for you to visit and share. And then we also have a newsletter, a quarterly newsletter webpage, and participate in social media. So at this time, am I going the right way? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting confused. So at this time, I wanted to share a brief video of our collective impact as a collaborative, just a snippet, because there's so much work being done amongst us as a group, but just so you can see a little bit of what's happened recently from our collaborative partners. And that's beautiful Bailey, our co-chair. So sincerely, thank you all for the work that you do in wellness, and to all of our collaborative members in the room, thank you for the support that you provide to our LEAs. At this time, I'm going to introduce our panel and have them come up so they can go into more detail about what Winning at Wellness looks like for all of us. So please join me in giving a hand to our presenters today. We have Kate McDevitt from San Diego Unified School District, Dr. Anna Jones, our local school wellness policy and Smarter Lunchroom project manager for CalFresh Healthy Living, University of California State Office, Dr. Margaret Sedor, our district suicide and prevention and well-being coordinator for Sweetwater Union High School District, and Katie Dooley Hendricks, associate director for the California No Kid Hungry. there a mic up there? Great. Okay. So what's great about this panel is there is a variety of folks here, some who have been with us for quite some time and some who are just joining the collaborative recently. And so what I wanted to do is just ask them to share, what empowering school communities together means to them and what some examples of winning at wellness have been for you in these last few years. So we're going to start with Kate. I can give you the clicker because you're probably better than me. Pass this on as well.
Good morning, everyone. So I'm just curious, in the room, could you just raise your hand? Are you working for a school district? Most of us. Okay. How many at the Office of Ed level? Okay. Great. And how many of you are responsible for the implementation of the local school wellness policy in your district? Okay, about half of the room. Well, great. Well, I'm Kate McDevitt. I'm the district wellness supervisor for San Diego Unified School District. And I'm so happy to be joining you all. This conference is amazing. I was here yesterday and it was just wonderful. What I have found, I'm one of the, I say the OGs with the collaborative. Have been a part of this work for a long time. And as someone who is responsible for the implementation of local school wellness policy, this collaborative has meant everything to me. I think many of you, like me, are pulled in a lot of different directions. We have a lot of responsibilities. We have a lot of demands of our time. And this work of this collaborative has really helped me to advance my role and being able to do something that when I first started in the role in 2016 felt very daunting. How do you get schools to take a policy and implement everything at their school in a way that they feel excited about? It's not that easy. But being a part of this collaborative, I have been able to elevate the needs that I see as someone working for a school district to the state level, to a coalition of partners who really care about us getting this right, who really want our students to be able to thrive, who really want to make sure that we have the tools that we need. And I don't know about you, but I often have felt over the years somewhat alone in trying to figure this out at the local level. You are looking at all of these schools. They have 10, 15, 20 different assessments they're supposed to be filling out. They have all of these professional learning opportunities. Principals have so many competing demands. And so how do you elevate health and wellness? How do you get schools to make this a priority? And what I have been able to do through the coalition is really share some of the needs that I've seen in how we're doing the work, bring them to the state level where we can say, hi, I work at a school district, and I know that this seems like something that's good for everybody, but we need some help. And I don't know if you all feel that way. I've certainly had many times, but what's wonderful about this coalition is that they hear us, they listen, and they create tools and resources to help us do our jobs better. So if you do work for a school district, and I saw many of you raise your hands, think of this as a solution group for you. One of the things that we do is every quarter we share out a newsletter. The newsletter contains lots of resources that help me do my job better. It contains invitations to the Winning at Wellness webinars, which are amazing, where we share best practices with each other. So you can hear from other school districts, hey, this is what's working for me. Here are my challenges. Here are the resources that we're using. And it's really also helped us to share our successes. In my district, what I have learned is that you have to start with the champions. You have to start with the people who really care about health and wellness or nutrition, if that's your area of focus. Get them on board and help elevate their good work. Because when you do that, others take notice, and then they say, oh, she's doing that. I think I could do that too. So I use my involvement in the coalition to really help elevate and advance the work that's happening in our school district. And I would encourage you all, if you're working in your schools and you are working on wellness policy implementation, if you have successes, share those with the collaborative, because it really does help all of us to learn from one another. So if we go to the next slide, I just wanted to show you a couple of the resources that are available to you. We have the California Local School Wellness Policy Collaborative landing page. Is sort of a place, if you have questions about how to implement wellness in your school districts, is a great place for finding resources. One of the needs that I helped to elevate was that we all are responsible in our districts for ensuring the implementation of the wellness policy, and we are asked to complete the triennial assessment. How many of you know about the triennial assessment? Okay, I'd say that was a third of the room maybe. What I was very happy to see happen through the collaborative was I said, you know, it would really help if you all could give us a template for what we need to, the data we need to share. There's a lot of things that we're being asked to report on. What if the collaborative helped to design a template that we could use? So that work now is happening, and we're going to hear more about that from Anna. But what I hope that you see here is that over the last year, the reach of the collaborative's resources are pretty impressive. So you can see for the landing page, we've had over 3,000 views and over 2,000 unique visitors. And for the triennial assessment template, 6,000 people have access to that. That to me says that what we're doing is helping. So I hope that as you listen to the rest of our panel, you'll really hear it from the place and space of this group wants to help us do our jobs better. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. So I am going to talk about the triennial assessment template, but before I do that, I'm going to share a little bit about who I am and who I work with. So I'm Anna Jones. I'm with the CalFresh Healthy Living University of California State Office. And we are a state implementing agency for CalFresh Healthy Living in California. And so we work with local UC cooperative extension offices. If you haven't heard of cooperative extension, it is fantastic. It is amazing. It has these wonderful programs. The whole point of cooperative extension is to take the research that's done at the University of California and turn it into information and resources and tools that the people of California can use. And so a lot of it is farming education for farmers, but it also is healthy living education through programs like ours, CalFresh Healthy Living UC, and FNEP, the Expanded Food Nutrition Education Program. And so we are working through those cooperative extension offices, and I see that we actually have some of our CalFresh Healthy Living UCCE staff there sitting in the back. Yeah. And if you don't know them, they are a fabulous team in SLO Santa Barbara. And so we are here to provide healthy living education and resources and policies and systems and environmental change to people and communities and to schools that qualify for our services. And so for schools, that means schools that are 50% or more free and reduced price or participate in CEP. And so for those schools, we can provide education, nutrition education, physical activity education, make changes to the school environments that help them encourage healthier choices in physical activity like smarter lunchrooms movement or stencils on the playground, or we can also assist with aspects of the local school wellness policy. And so some of the things we can do with local school wellness policies is we can be a voice of as a community partner on the Wellness Council or assist with assessment, things like that. And so our program is in 34 counties in California, and we work with thousands of people every year. And I'm just really proud and excited of all the wonderful work our educators and our supervisors and our staff. They are just wonderful people doing fantastic work in the community. Okay, so that is us at CalFresh Healthy Living UC. And so now I'm going to just share a little bit about the triennial assessment template. So as Kate mentioned, the triennial assessment template is a tool that can be used to help guide you through doing the triennial assessment, which is a required piece of the local school wellness policy. And so this template guides LEAs, local educational agencies, through this process. It includes lots of great information as well as individual templates that you can use for pieces of the triennial assessment, as well as examples. And so this can be done through a downloadable Word doc or through a web version. And so the template has 4 components that line up with what's required for the triennial assessment. And these include comparison to a model wellness policy, extensive compliance for all schools with the local school wellness policy, progress in reaching goals set forth by the local school wellness policy, and report to the public. So just going to go through each of these components just one by one. And so for that first component, comparison to a model wellness policy, this is where you can identify strengths and opportunities for improvement and determine how to strengthen the policy. So you take your policy and you can compare it to a model policy like the one that's been developed by the Alliance for a Healthier Generation or WellSat 3.0 or the California School Boards Association model policy. And so for each of these policies, there's pros and cons and why this one may or may not work for your district. And then a tool that you can use to compare your policy to what's in that model policy. And then for component 2, extensive compliance for all schools with the local school wellness policy. This is where you can determine whether your schools are following the local school wellness policy as it's written. How is it being implemented at the school level? And so there's different assessment tools that you can use, and the template includes links to those tools, like the Alliance for Healthier Generation Schools Program Guide, School Health Index, Action for Healthy Kids, School Health Index, or if you work with a CalFresh Healthy Living program, the site level assessment questionnaire. And then for that one, there's also an extent of compliance. So how is your program, or how are your schools lining up with what's required in the wellness policy and what's written in the wellness policy? And then the third component, progress made in reaching local school wellness policy goals. This is where you can document progress and demonstrate that your local school wellness policy is being implemented. So you can use those same tools that I mentioned in component 2 to document and demonstrate how the policy is being implemented at the school level. And so there's a template for documenting that and basically where your district is at when it comes to reaching those goals that are set forth in your wellness policy. And then lastly, ensuring that your school community knows about the fantastic work that you're doing, knows about the local school wellness policy and how it's being implemented and what's being done. And so there's templates for sharing your results. There's a great 1-page template that you can fill out to share, this is what we've been working on. This is where we still have a little bit of room to grow. And then also a template for just keeping track of how you're letting the public know about the wellness policy and the triennial assessment. And so with that, now that I've told you about this great resource that the Local School Wellness Policy Collaborative developed, I'm actually going to hand it back to Kate, and she's going to tell us all about how she's used it in her district.
Thanks. So early in my time working for San Diego Unified, CDE came to do the administrative review. And before I had this role, I'll tell you, we had a lot of findings. We were not in compliance with the implementation, and it had been a problem. So there was a lot of pressure on me to make sure that when we had our next administrative review, they had funded my position, that I was making sure that we were on track. And I was really proud of the work that we had done, because we had we had designated at every school site in our district a school wellness coordinator, and I had been working very hard with them and some of our community partners to make sure that we were doing the things that we were supposed to be doing. So I was excited to share, but also, as I mentioned, a little bit overwhelmed, because the triennial assessment does need to be a comprehensive report where you're really clicking down the things that Crystal has outlined that need to be done. So the first time I did the triennial assessment, we had to do it all ourselves. I had to figure out, okay, what does it say we need to do? How do we want to present that information? It took a substantial amount of time. And then I brought all of our experiences to the California Local School Wellness Policy Collaborative, and I said, it would really help if we had a template for this in our state. And we worked really hard over the next year to put something together that would make sure that all of those elements were there. And then we did a webinar, a Winning at Wellness webinar, and we presented, Crystal sent, and CDE sent out the invitation to all the school districts across California and said, if you want to learn how to complete the triennial assessment, we're going to give you an assessment tool that you can use. Please come. We had so many people come to this webinar. It was amazing. Was anybody there for that one? It was a few years ago. Heather was there. Oh, great. And we had a really good dialogue and a lot of positive feedback. If you want to watch that webinar, it's recorded and it's on the California Local School Wellness Policy Collaborative landing page. So I love that because it continues to be a resource. And that template is what I used the second time I had to complete the triennial assessment. And oh my gosh, it was so much easier. So much easier. So I really encourage you. It's optional to use this template, but boy, will it make your lives easier if this is a responsibility of yours. So that's my experience using it, and I try to encourage all of my colleagues who implement wellness policy and have to report on it to use it as well.
Oh, and I did want to mention one thing about the webinar. There's actually 2 webinars. There's one for schools, local educational agencies, districts, and there's also one for community partners. So you have your option depending on what kind of organization you're with. So now I'm going to hand it off to Margaret.
Great, thank you. Let's give it up. Isn't it amazing how much knowledge and information I have? I'm Dr. Margaret Sedor, and I'm a school psychologist, and I support currently our crisis response, suicide prevention efforts, and well-being. So other duties as assigned, right? How many of you are brand new at this wellness work? Maybe in your first year? Raise your hands really high. I want to see everyone. Thank you. And this could be very overwhelming, right? I'm brand new at this. Even though I've been a school psychologist and well-being has been my passion for many years, I pretty much saw well-being as our mental and emotional health. I had no clue the breadth and depth of what wellness really meant until I came to this conference last year. And I learned so much in 24 hours. It just blew my mind. And you probably heard me last year talk a little bit about how I started, because I'm like, I didn't even know where to start. I'm like Tom Sawyer trying to get people to help me paint my fence, right? And I started with really just listening. I think that's the psychologist in me, where oftentimes we want to solve problems. We want to just fix things and take care of things. But coming out of the 2 pandemics, we had the mental health pandemic and then COVID back to back. We were really struggling collectively, especially as adults. And I was asked to go to the district office, which I'm like, nope, don't want to go to the district office. But I did acquiesce. And what I did is I walked into every single department and found that we really were impacted by the loss of how our life is permanently changed. And then just the medical impact that very young people were having at the district level. And the district was being received as anything and everything that was wrong with the world, whether it was from our students, our staff, our communities, right? And just listening to those stories, I'm like, we need to come together and just listen to these journeys and these stories and be able to help out each other. So we created something called a well-being, is it up there? Okay. Well-being ambassador. So we just had one liaison from every department. I met with our cabinet and superintendent. And the only thing they needed to do is just serve as a representative from their department and just, what does well-being look like? Let's learn about it together. Let's figure out what folks want. And the word I keep hearing over the last couple of days is community. And so we didn't start with a policy. We started with, who are we? Where are we at? What do we need to do? What do we need to start, stop, continue doing? And I leaned in with our nutrition services department first. And what I found is they were the only folks, and maybe some of you can, this resonates with you, were the only people who didn't have the privilege of working from home during COVID. And so I remember students just going on campus for the first time, breaking down. That barrier just was overwhelming of thinking of that as an unsafe place. So how many of you were the only person on site during this whole time, right? And so going into empty buildings, we're not only serving our students who are no longer there, but our whole community, and we have less staff, and we also are impacted ourselves, right? So we spent several conversations and then doing some planning around that. But the ambassadors is where we first started, and we started doing simple things like you'll see the Red Ribbon Week, which will come up next. These are our ambassadors. So we had people that were social and emotional, teachers on special assignment, our phys ed and health education, our nutrition services, our dietitians. Every single department was represented and every work class was represented so we could come collectively together. Because what we found is most of the training and convening together as a community was our certificated staff. And we forgot about every single one of us. Will you help me with the slides?
Yeah, of course.
Thanks. So fast forward, a lot of the work I do is around, with COVID, we heard a lot about physical safety, but we kind of were ignoring psychological safety. And unfortunately, a lot of my job is responding to death of students and staff. And typically we'll have 2 to 4 deaths a year. Last year we had 16. This year we already have 10. So I'll be honest, a lot of my well-being work is on pause because I'm in crisis response mode. And I'm like, okay, I'm Superwoman, but not so much. And so a lot of what I've been trying to do is build capacity. The picture you see on the left, oh, can we go back? Oh, wait, go forward one. Right, no, sorry, back. There we go. The picture on the left are a team of school psychologists, administrators, counselors, and teachers who were trained in our National Association of School Psychologists curriculum called Prepare, and it's for crisis response. So there's a workshop for teams to identify who, what, where, and when, but then how to do the psychological triage, because what we're in right now is still triage. Folks don't necessarily need counseling or mental health services. What they need is just acknowledgement, listening, and sense of community. So we now, instead of having just 1 or 2 trainers, we now have 12 trainers in our district. I forgot to tell you, I work in Sweetwater Union High School District, and we have about 40,000 students and about 7,000 staff. And we're right at the border of Mexico, and we've been significantly impacted. But what's neat is now seeing this community come together to balance and have parity between physical and psychological safety. Thank you. One of my passions for my career has been about student agency and voice. Oftentimes we do at or for students. I come from a restorative practice frame, and our students, I think, are our biggest asset and untapped resource in this work. So we did what we call Mental Health Student Leadership Summit in the spring. We invited 10 students from each of our high schools to a summit. It was led by students for students, and we've also partnered with several different agencies, especially the Kevin Love Fund. I don't know if you know Kevin Love. He's a basketball player. I knew you would know him. And he has this great foundation. He is a basketball player who had an anxiety attack on the court and really leans into mental health and well-being. And so we've partnered with him. He has a free curriculum. We can share it with all of you. They've done a lot of training in our district. But it's really about putting the students in the front of this. But we did restorative circles with our students, and we wanted to hear from them, what is the landscape of mental health and your well-being? What does it look like? What are we doing to support you? And what do we need to start, stop, and continue doing? And being able to inform, instead of just coming together with a committee and let's do something, let's first listen about what the needs are. And I will tell you, after that, the next session was the students-led mental health breakout sessions. And it was just beautiful. This next year, it's going to be a full conference. We hope you can help us invite Kevin Love to come to it. But we hope to have him partner with us. But we also had about 40 different community agencies over there that were able to connect with the students in booths. So the students, not parents, not community members, our students could learn about the different folks in the community they can partner with and the work around them. So we're really excited about that. For several years, unfortunately, we've been impacted by suicide. We just had one, unfortunately, a couple of weeks ago. And that's a huge loss. And any loss is a loss, but when a youth or staff member dies by suicide, it impacts us a little differently. And I'll tell you, every person takes it personally, and the coulda, woulda, shouldas, and the questions, and I tell folks the answers leave with that person, but it leaves a mark on our community about what are we really doing. We know nutrition's important, we know physical health's important, and all of that's interconnected with our mental health. And so I love Lynn, I don't know if she's here again, I really appreciated the data that you shared. That was just beautiful because I think that connection is really important. And I know I'm personally going to be more mindful with every summit I do to integrate more beyond just a mental health piece, because that's so critical for our kids to learn. And so I hope our students will lead those sessions. But we bring together a forum where we have parents, students, staff, and community members, and we do restorative circles, and we start with the questioning of what does this look like? What does suicide mean to you? How has it impacted you? What do you hope to learn? Last year, we had Living Through It, which is a little short documentary of a parent in our district whose mother died by suicide. She jumped off our Coronado Bridge with her in her hands. The daughter survived, and it was just beautiful video. But and then the person who created the documentary also lives in our community and has received international awards for that. This year, we did something called What I Wish My Parents Knew. And there's a gentleman from Marietta who lost his son to suicide, and he interviews kids to hear their perspective about, I can't talk to my parents and why I can't talk to my parents, but here's how my parents can talk to me. And it's a pretty intense, and then from there, we reflect on it, and then we all end every activity with a ribbon of one thing I can personally do to intervene with suicide, because it's not just for mental health professionals, it's every single community member, including our kids, to intervene and protect each other from suicide. Do I have any more slides? One more. So these are just some silly pictures. We did a Thanksgiving, Friendsgiving, a gratitude luncheon. That's our superintendent with our turkey, and that's actually our physical ed, health ed teacher who's in the turkey outfit. But I just thought I would leave you on that. But one of the things I would say, if any of us can walk away from this conversation, is just we, with words, can't take away pain. We can't take away someone's journey, but what we can do is acknowledge the conditions of where they're at and listen. And my mom always said we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so listening twice as much as we speak is really important. And I share with you the Comfort Cub. I think you had a picture with your superintendent last year. So we've been working with our county office on this suicide prevention grant. We got mental health clubs going at every school site this year, so I'm really excited about the student leadership piece. That's one of my lifelong goals, and I really think as adults we need to get out of the way. And the students are ready, they're hungry, and they want to have these conversations. As adults, we, I think, generationally just really struggle with talking out loud and openly about things. But we got these kits to create well-being centers. We do a well-being center at our district and some at school sites. Some are for adults, some are for kids. Our goal is to have one at every school site for both. But if you get a chance to hold this, this is a Comfort Cub, and it's a weighted teddy bear. And I'm like, I have to be honest, I rolled my eyes. I'm like, my high school kids, they're not going to relate to this. They love it. They love them. And I first used it where one of my staff members lost her son. He died and had a 4-year-old. I'm like, I haven't worked with 4-year-olds in a long time. And so I gave this to the family, and they sent me pictures. Every person in that family was holding this. And to this day, they still hold this as a way to kind of connect to that person that they lost. And then the other thing I wanted to share with you, something that is free, is these mental health thrival kits. They're in English and Spanish. I think they just came out with some that are also acknowledged in Filipino American. But they're just little kits that it's like a little journal and a pen and some stickers, but it has grounding techniques, breathing techniques, resources, some coloring, but just one thing I'm grateful for each day. And these are free from Directing Change in the State Department of Ed. I have like 40,000 kids. They're like order 40,000. They're trying to work on funding. So I can make sure, Crystal, I get the link to you. But I will tell you, all the adults are wanting to steal these. They love these. So these are just a few things that I thought I could leave you with. But I do want to say thank you for providing this opportunity for all of us, and for teaching me about the integrated well-being work that we all are engaging in.
Thanks, Margaret. Hi, everybody. I'm Katie Dooley Hedrick. I'm the Associate Director of the No Kid Hungry California campaign. Our goal is to end childhood hunger in the United States. And thanks to really great policies and work from many of the folks in this room and organizations, we are certainly making strides. There's a lot more work to be done, but I'm really grateful to be here. I'm going to take a little bit of time to just talk about some of the collective impact of the collaborative, and also some of the things that have happened in the strive towards nutrition access for our students in the state. So if we can I'll remember back to February of 2020. I know that was a lifetime ago. I had the great good fortune to work with Crystal to host collaboratively with the Department of Education and Nutrition Division the first California School Nutrition Access Institute. This brought together roughly 150 stakeholders from across the state. These were folks from the various agencies, the Department of Education. There were folks from CDFA. Many LEAs were represented. We also had community organizations, and the entire purpose of the institute was to bring thought leaders and change makers together to come get behind this goal of breaking down barriers and increasing access to nutrition. We had multiple areas that we were focusing in, school meals, school breakfast, school lunch, after school meals, and summer meals kind of were, I think, the primary focus. At that time, there were some rumblings of this new virus that was happening, but we didn't really know. We had a few conversations, but what that really set the stage for was really solid connection and networking amongst various stakeholders that led to just something that we couldn't have foreseen at the time, but when we did end up in a shutdown and we were dealing with new waivers and new flexibilities, and nutrition services were in a world that was completely unknown and ever changing. We were able to rely on these relationships that we had just formed in this shared goal and lean on those connections in a way that was really pivotal in that moment and allowed just a very quick, faster than normal reaction time. So I'm very grateful to that Access Institute. That also led to No Kid Hungry becoming a member of the collaborative. Prior to that, we had not yet been engaged with this specific group. And I think the ability to communicate directly with the Nutrition Services Division at CDE was really critical. And one of the things that I, to this day, see as such an incredible benefit of the collaborative is that for those of us, those organizations that are working with LEAs in a different capacity. So with No Kid Hungry, we are often partnering directly with school districts, with their nutrition departments, working with them on redesigning their program, expanding or changing their delivery models of school meals to help reach more students, to bring meals where the students already are, to help eliminate stigma. We have a different relationship with LEAs than CDE or than some of our other partners within the collaborative. So what the collaborative allows for is that relationship building and bringing what we are hearing back to the group. And it might be different. What I'm hearing from our LEAs might be different than what Kate's hearing, but it's all super important and different components, and helping to, I think, streamline all of those various pieces and messages into one kind of place where we can collectively brainstorm on what resource might be the most helpful. Or what I find often happens for us is, like, we might have a grant opportunity, for example, and Dairy Council might also have a grant opportunity, and we can come together, the collaborative, and really strategize on like how to make our resources go the farthest, or prioritize, let's push that makes sense. I want to promote that grant opportunity for these folks, but it really feels like this is a better fit for these partners over here, and being able to work together in this space and lift our heads up to see a broader picture than what we might see on the day-to-day in our more narrow focus has been a real asset in our experience, I think, with the collaborative. I will say, for our work in nutrition, which I think we can all agree is such a foundational component of wellness, we are always looking to close the gap between the students that are eligible for school meals and the students that are participating in school meals. We are super fortunate to be in California and to have universal meals for all. It was a tremendous win. So I haven't use my slides here, but was great news for California. It was a major team effort. Senator Skinner is such an incredible champion on these issues, and we're so, so grateful for her leadership on this. And of course, Kim Frenzel and Crystal and those at NDS as well. What then led, right, is so new, School Meals for All is awesome, super, super big achievement. Making meals free for all does not make all the students eat them, right? And so there's still so much work to be done. And I think now we are poised to do great things. And I think Crystal alluded to some of this before, but I think in local school wellness policies, we can really now, I hope you all can see No Kid Hungry and other collaborative members as an asset to you, as to think through, like, how do we maximize CEP, the community eligibility provision in our district, which you may think, well, school meals are free for all, so that shouldn't be as much of a priority for us. But in order to ensure the sustainability of school meals for all in the state of California, it's really incumbent upon us to maximize the federal dollars that are coming to the state. And so we are an asset to you all to help you think through how can you maximize the community eligibility provision. Maybe you have the community eligibility provision, or you're not, but your participation isn't quite there, or you're really seeing a lag in your numbers have dropped off. We've seen many LEAs that saw a spike, like they kind of hit a stride in the pandemic once all the waiver confusion settled. And they were really serving a ton of community meals. But as we've now phased back some of those flexibilities or things, the climate is shifting, and some places are settling back into the pre-pandemic era where school meals just were not as accessible to families. And so I think you can see No Kid Hungry as an opportunity, or as a partner in helping you think through how to make sure, how to work with your school district, how to work with your school wellness policy committee to really prioritize nutrition access for your students. And Crystal also mentioned, but I think another component of this, right, is that we did get some really great things. I mean, I hate to say it, but out of our experience in the pandemic of summer EBT is now here to stay, which is tremendous and will go such a long way for families. But it's up to us to make sure that it is successful and that families that are eligible for that program get connected to it. And there are so many factors at play in order to really coordinate among the different stakeholders. So that takes a lot of communication between, LEAs and CDE and CDSS, and really making sure that you're promoting these programs in a way and that can really reach the families who need them. And so if I can just say, it takes a team effort. Partnership is absolutely key. And all of the collaborative members are so passionate about this work and wellness as a whole. I'm particularly passionate about the nutrition component, and we are all here to help just really try and wrap all of the services. I think the model of the WISC model, the whole child model, is such a good visual for me, because it's just like we want to surround these students with all of the resources to ensure that they can thrive and reach their greatest potential. So that's been our experience, and we were just so thrilled to be here. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here. It's such an honor to have so many collaborative members with us to share their story. And this is just a scratch of the surface. If we dived in and told the story of everyone in the room, I think we'd all be boo-hooing here, because the superintendent's initiative was transforming schools in California when he came on board. I don't think he had a clue what that was going to look like in reality, right? We've all been transforming as a result of what's happened in the last few years. And it's a good thing. It's been a hard thing, but it's been a good thing. And so when I look at this, what do we call this? infographic image, all of the programs and initiatives that started to align with the new superintendent really show that we are moving toward meeting the needs of our students and families in a way that empowers them, builds community, and looks at the whole well-being of the students and their families. So, of course, starting with universal meals, now we have universal preschool, community schools, professional development, anti-racism training, mental health programs, and expanded learning programs. And they're also important. I wish I could dive into each of them with you. But as you reflect on this, I want you to think about that call to action, because the reality is that the state of emergency hasn't gone away. We're just really getting the symptoms of what is to come, the early symptoms of what is to come, because trauma has long-term impact. And so if we keep that mindset of having one vision, one response, a coordinated approach, I love all the images of the teamwork, right? Having people on the ground ready to respond regardless of classification, pay, position, title, age, right? Education. All of us having that readiness to respond to create a school environment that everybody feels a part of and belongs, right? That's what a community school looks like. That's why universal meals is there, so that we can make sure that all of our basic needs are met. That's why we're providing the professional development, so that we can be the best that we can be, right, for each other for the long haul. So with that, we wanted to just, next slide, please, give you an opportunity to share with one another based on some of the things that you've heard this week, or maybe if it's just this morning or on the way here on your drive here. What are some of the things that you're doing or planning to do to promote collaboration and accountability in your district around, or agency around school wellness? And so we have a few minutes, so just kind of take a deep breath, turn to the person, say hello, and ask them, what has been stirred up in you this morning or this week so far based on what you've heard. And I'll say, where's Kirsten? We maybe like 7 minutes, get you warmed up in the room, give you a chance to talk, and then I'll check in again.
Okay, so at this time, just want to direct your attention back up here. So the question was, what are you doing or planning to do to promote collaboration and accountability around school wellness in your agency? And I've got some of my panelist members out here in the audience to see if there's any of you who wanted to share, like if you had an aha or something clicks from your table discussion or what you've heard today that you'd like to share out to the group as an opportunity to take that next step in collaboration or accountability. Anybody willing to share? Okay, great.
Oh, we talked about how it's a journey and we have to revisit the topic of school wellness, both in terms of nutrition and in terms of psychological safety. And it's just something that we just have to keep revisiting and being, patient with our people, and just believe that it will happen eventually, because it should just be the natural outcome.
Absolutely. Thank you. Anyone else?
Good morning. A quick observation, and then I'm going to bring the topic. I hear great information coming this way and going that way. I see the models that are beautifully made, and I see the part that says community involvement, but I haven't heard a lot about parents. One of the biggest challenges that I see in the school wellness committees that I go to is that there's no parents. Outreach to parents is highly, highly difficult. Integration of parents into the school wellness committee is even more difficult, because what's the role? And if they come in, then we're going to have to translate every single document, have translators, interpreters. So I would like to hear something about parents, but as far as incorporation, and for me, I like to advocate for parent involvement because I think the schools are overwhelmed. I think that the schools need the assistance of the parents. Most of the issues that teachers, administrators, nurses are seeing in the schools are dealing with a lot of the problems that the kids have at home. But we don't talk to the parents. We don't address them. We don't address the community. And if we do it very linear. I think that they need to get involved a little bit more into the schools and make the school a community center so that there could be more integration. I see one of the schools that I work with, Fillmore Elementary, a couple of years in Lompoc, the parents noticed that the readings, right before COVID, excuse me, they noticed that the school reading scores were really low. And they said, you know what, can we do something? And so they created reading groups, parents sitting down during recess to read in English and Spanish to the kids. That was their way of incorporating, but they were very afraid that the school was not theirs. I don't know why there's that separation, but I encourage people to, incorporate parents, listen to parents. It's very, very difficult to get them, but they can give you a really good insight of what's going on. And if you can promote family integration, how? Just let them know. You can have a meal with the parents, with your kids, and everybody together at least once a week. And that will help a lot. Thank you.
Excellent.
Crystal, would you want me to share a little bit about that?
Absolutely.
Thank you for saying that. I find that we can't just have parent meetings or having parent, open house or what have you, but truly parents as partners. And I feel like in our community that all of our committees have parents and students that are invested and are co-creating alongside of us because we need that voice. Just like I feel like an outsider here because I'm a mental health professional and I don't speak the nutrition world. And so I'm learning about the nutrition world. So I think it really does honestly take a village. So I think having that partnership and also listening to what do parents need and want, and so that we can provide that. So I know we've done parent institutes and different trainings and what have you, but it's really more about that collective voice and co-creating.
Does this work? Yeah. I would just add also, especially in this moment, I think there's so much, there was so much, parents had a front row seat to school nutrition during the pandemic. So they were just by nature much more engaged with school nutrition when they were, getting their food and the students were at home. One thing that we have done is we've partnered with the Dolores Huerta Foundation and have done some very specific family engagement and focus groups and listening to parents. And I think one thing just to keep in mind that has come up many times for us is really working to have shared definitions of things or shared language around particularly around school food. One thing that we've just noticed is that everybody is talking about like healthy food and like school food isn't healthy or whatever. But if you're talking to a student, what they mean when they talk about, well, healthy food or I don't like school food is different than what a teacher might be meaning when they're saying that, which is different than what a parent is saying, and the perception versus the reality. There is a lot lost in the in translation, or not literal translation, but just in those shared language. So that's something that we've encountered and are trying to find ways to educate and build awareness around that. So I think it's a really valid observation.
Mm-hmm. So to your point, good morning. We started this year something very new at one of our schools in Lost Hill, California. That's a smaller community, 500 students, about 200 plus minus family members. So we started a lunch with the principal. Once a month, 25 families are invited, or 25 parents rather are invited. That will do almost an entire community over a year. They get to not even see what our kids are eating, but also help us talk about the wellness policy, what are the initiatives that we have, what are the things that they can take away other than that. It's the whys that we do, that's the only way I think we found that that's connecting the dots. So really, really powerful way of saying that we need to involve parents back in. I think that's the one solution we need to emphasize a little bit more than that. So thank you.
I love that idea, and you just made me think. Our principals do coffee with the principal, and the principal will walk around the block with the parents during the meeting. So
Correct.
instead of sitting.
And we built on that thing. So coffee doesn't give you the glimpse of a dining hall. Our intention was to have them see what we are serving. And we actually serve, we do not do anything special for them that day. We want them to see what exactly happens. And if kid goes home and tells us the food sucks, I want to talk to the kid.
I think it taps in, and Fidel and I talked about this yesterday. I don't need that. It taps into saying that we can't have the wellness meeting at 2:30 or 3 o'clock. We just can't. We need to have the wellness meeting, and we spoke about this in length yesterday at lunch, on a Saturday or first thing in the morning, or some other time. And so that embraces and has an ask of our administration and our PTSA, and to, if we really want to really listen and support and advocate for our parent community that work, we need to have it other than when it's good, and I'm a teacher, when it's good for us right after school, because we're missing the mark about if we're truly in it for our clients, what are our students, then we need to really meet our parents more than halfway and do it at a time that works for them. Because the lunch is amazing, but when you're working, you can't go, So I think I just do a little, what are the optics of another time that we could do that, either over a break, but it's hard to have parents that are working to come in and go to those meetings.
And I think the other side of that is that parents that be brought in, the few parents, because right now with the economy, many are working 2 jobs and they cannot come in. But many times they bring in to all kinds of different committees. You have the LCAP, the ELACs, the council, the PTA, boom, boom, boom. By the time they're done, parents say, you know what, I can't. I have 5 meetings and another one with school wellness. Forget that. I'm not going to be able to do that. And it's not only the parents, but also the administrators, Oh, you know what? Where do we put it? Where do we do it? Can we just pair it with the LCAP or the ELAC meeting? That way they can do the school wellness at the same time? Okay, it sounds great, but there's no structure. There are certain things that need to be done. Budget comes first, and they need the approval from parents. And so that's going to take a while. And you know what, school wellness, forget it. But there are some really good ideas that came in yesterday. I don't know. It's just my observation of what's going on in the school districts.
I love that. And I'm going to have a little chance to share more about that with you later. So I'm going to keep it going here because that's where you're tracking right with us. So please continue the dialogue over the breaks with one another. We want all this energy to find solutions and share best practices and collaborate to continue on. Some reason my clicker's not working, so you're not seeing the next slides. But it really is about you going back and saying, hey, we have a call to action. We have opportunities here. The work needs to be done to engage our whole community for our students. It's time to build or reconvene diverse wellness committees that include families, students, and community partners. We can and engage the whole school community and staff as well. We want to use the best practices like the WISC model to look at ways to implement. We can develop an action plan to strengthen our policy language to truly reflect what's happening in our community and the needs and opportunities that our school family is seeking, as well as integrate the local school wellness policy with the transforming school initiatives and local control accountability plans so that there's an integrated, coordinated approach and we are not feeling all pulled in different directions. So you're going to hear more from us. Hopefully you will stay connected with us. We do have our webpage that has our wellness resources as well as the Winning at Wellness webinars that you heard about earlier and the triennial assessment template. Please feel free to take this time to evaluate this session and give us your feedback. If there's things that you think that we need to focus on as a collaborative or opportunities that you would like to invite us to, or maybe there's something that you think would be a great resource to share, please feel free to share that in the evaluation and just give us your feedback today. The QR code can be picked up by your cell phone and it'll also be in the presentation files that are saved and shared with you later today. So with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Erin and release our panel here. They're available to you. You can contact them. Sorry, I need to go to that. Their contact information is also on the screen on the webpage as well, and will be available throughout the event today to connect with. So please bring your questions to us and reach out to us throughout this event. Thank you.